Last week's review of The Bravest, a foreign language film produced in mainland China to coincide with a patriotic national holiday in that country, received some criticism from some viewers who felt that it was in perhaps poor taste to review mainland Chinese films with nominally nationally celebratory themes at this point in time, given the ongoing geopolitical controversies concerning protests in Hong Kong, international condemnation of the Chinese government's treatment of the Uyghur minority, among many other myriad concerns and issues. And honestly, I think that's a valid criticism to raise, something that I do think about in these circumstances. Speaking only for myself, what it comes down to is, if those or any other topics were part of the films in question's narrative or the caliber of their presentation, it would certainly factor into my opinion, and on the flip side, I also feel like just blanket saying, no, I won't review any Chinese movies would be maybe a little hypocritical when I am, after all, an American and review a lot of American movies that are super insistent about how awesome we are when we've had our own issues recently. On that note, here's the review of the third Olympus Has Fallen movie. Why the fuck did I have to watch a third one of these? Hell, why'd I have to watch a second one? The original Olympus Has Fallen was a cheaper and lazier of the two Die Hard and The White House movies that came out in the same year but wound up with the more, let's say, impassioned following at the time by featuring a more head stabbings and going for simplistically xenophobic foreign bad guy storyline, whereas White House Down opted to pit its Obama-inspired president character against a topical conspiracy storyline grounded in contemporary domestic politics. Anyway, it starred Gerard, who the hell was giving me career advice after 300 Butler. Seriously, what happened there? As Mike Banning, Secret Service agent with a stupid version of Clint Eastwood's backstory from In the Line of Fire. They did a second one where they had to save London, or maybe just the president again, but they were in London. I don't know. These movies are totally unmemorable, and I only saw it that one time. And now in this one, he's got to save himself because someone tried to kill President Morgan Freeman, but instead only put him in a coma, and they've managed to frame Banning for it somehow, and he's a fugitive who has to team up with his estranged conspiracy nut bomb-making hermit father, played by Nick Nolte, because of course he's in these now to clear his name. Danny Huston is the smug, grumpy, private mercenary company leader guy, because I'm pretty sure when you write this character into a movie, Danny Huston just kind of materializes. It has exactly one interesting action scene that's mostly played for laughs, involving Nolte taking out bad guys with explosive booby traps, but for the most part, this has probably the least interesting action of a trilogy that's never really been known for inventiveness in that department, though those with an ironic detachment to how many people Butler decides to down with knife kills instead of shooting them will at least guess a few of those. Now, for those unironically attached to the franchise, well, given that this time Banning is fighting nefarious actors from inside his own government, you might have thought this would be the point where the Has Fallen franchise eased back on their one-dimensional ideological binary, especially since, you know, there's a perfectly apolitical dimension to the trite John Henry versus the steam drill angle of old warhorse Banning taking on baddies in the form of high-end PMCs who use high-tech drones and hacking instead of good old-fashioned knife to the face to wage war. But no, the exceptionally dumb and easy-to-figure-out conspiracy plot this time still ultimately involves deep state bad actors, conspiracy nuts making bombs in the woods, actually being right about everything, and I shit you not, experts agree Banning colluded with the Russians as a thing we in the audience know is a lie, so laugh at it line. So at least you can't say these movies don't know their audience. Whew. I'll say at least that Gerard Butler remains, as ever, a frustratingly competent and believable actor in these things. Frustrating mainly because he's so obviously very talented, compelling, and relatable, and he keeps getting cast almost exclusively in terrible movies like this. I did sort of like that for a change they actually lean into the idea that the clearly over-the-hill action guy is in fact too old for this shit for real. A big part of the plot concerns Banning having problems with his hearing and headaches and painkillers because of all the beatings and shootings that he's taken in the first two movies, and they dwell on it just enough to make you think, oh hey, this could go somewhere interesting, before no, they don't at all. I mean, you know, credit at least that they stick with it all the way through, and this really does end with two graying middle-aged dudes who both look, if not for the tactical fatigues and stage blood, like the smug "So I Talked to My Doctor" after picture guy in the Cialis commercial having a knife fight showdown that looks more like a standing bet over which one of them's just gonna pass the hell out first. Anyway, this is a bad movie that lacks even the wow, at least it's excessively violent and over-the-top stupid momentary fun of the first two, wastes a lot of decent actors, and feels like a bad movie-length version of a CBS show that you leave on in the background while you clean the TV room. God, do people even have TV rooms anymore? Jesus, speaking of too old for this shit. The only remotely interesting stuff is the interplay between Butler and Nolte and the father-son reconciliation business, and that's over before it starts because they can't wait to get back to the action that isn't all that action-y. 3 out of 10, go see a different movie. Maybe this one, which also came out. Look, I'm only budgeted for one of these a week, so yeah.